Mr. Speaker, and it does give me pleasure to rise today to speak to Bill S205, which seeks to create the position of a Parliamentary Visual Artist Laureate, who would be an officer of the Library of Parliament, similar to that of the current Parliamentary Poet Laureate position. The mandate of the Parliamentary Visual Artist Laureate would be to promote the arts in Canada through Parliament, including by fostering knowledge, enjoyment, awareness, and development of the arts. In this bill, the arts are defined as drawing, painting, sculpture, printmaking, design, crafts, photography, videography, and filmmaking. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the sponsor in the Senate of this bill, Senator Patricia Bovey, for her work in moving this legislation to the House. I'd also like to acknowledge Peter Goh of Nova Scotia, who was the originator of this wonderful idea. And sadly, the artist, Peter, passed away before he could see his idea become a reality. However, there are many, many other incredible artists in Nova Scotia and across Canada who I'm sure will be happy to see this bill move forward and honor his memory and the work of Canada's arts community. Bill S205 is based on the same concept, as I said, of the Parliamentary Poet Laureate. And the Commissioner of Official Languages for Canada, the Chairperson of the Canada Council of the Arts, and the President of the Royal Canadian Academy of the Arts have all provided their witness testimony about this important bill, including the Director of the National Gallery of Canada. The position would have a 2-year term with a mandate of promoting the arts through Canada, through Parliament, including by fostering the knowledge, enjoyment, and development of the arts. Colleagues, I cannot emphasize enough, too greatly, the contribution that Canadian artists make to our society, our collective well-being, and our understanding of each other, of lifelong Canadians, new Canadians, immigrants, First Nations, and refugees. The arts can break down barriers which exist between us, something we need more than ever today. Canada's artists have been illuminating what it means to be Canadian, where we've been, where we're going, through many different mediums, from the view of many different cultures and regions, sometimes critical, but reflective of who we are. Over the past year and a half, we've been living through some of the most challenging times faced by our country for many decades. The pandemic has forced us into isolation. It's led to loneliness and despair for many Canadians and for our youth as well. And I have to say, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the youth are looking forward to the day that they can get out and enjoy the arts in person again. And as my dear late departed niece, Maya, said to me shortly before she passed away this week, she said, "What would life be without music? Life would be so depressing without music." And I have to say, I completely agree with her. Throughout this pandemic, Canada's artists have been there to provide us with a bit of light and hope while we await a time to come when we can be together again as friends, as families, and yes, as colleagues. The arts are also economic generators. As the third largest employer in Canada, the arts and culture sector employs some 600,000 Canadians and contributes 7.5% of our GDP. Research has demonstrated that the arts contribute positively to our health, education, and the environment. And I suggest we need more arts in schools. The arts are mental health programs. Just ask any child to tell their story, and I'm sure they'd rather do it through drawing or writing or even drama, putting on a personality rather than trying to speak as themselves. Sometimes this is much easier for people to do. And where would the tourism industry be without Canada's arts and artists? The arts are a universal international language and the lens through which other nations recognize us as Canadians. It makes us different from the Americans. The Americans have their own arts and culture, but we need to support ours so we're not drowned out, so that people can hear our own stories and our own voices and not just American ones. The cultural components of international events are there not just to entertain, but to show the world who we are. And we are very, very good at doing this. The Government of Canada has committed to restoring the cultural pillar to our foreign policy. We're depicting ourselves to the world through the arts, which creates a greater understanding of who we are on the international stage. I believe it's time for our Parliament to have a visual artist laureate whose works would preserve for posterity the events which grip us as parliamentarians and the work we do to make Canadians' lives better. I ask for your support in making this initiative a reality. It's a tangible manner of thanking our artists for their contribution to Canadian society, especially during trying times such as these. And I'd like to say the words of George Eliot Clark, our former parliamentary poet laureate. It's entitled On the Proposal for the Artist Laureate. The blank page, the blank canvas is undeniably delicious, like a fog which obscures, then reveals what hope imminently congeals. A fantastic architecture, imagination born secure. What vision the eye of the eye had dreamt it, is what answering why. Rainbows erupt from paint or ink, a film sculptures light in a blink. A needle weaving is lyric, and whatever is shaped is epic. Arts each eye articulate, whose vision ordains a laureate. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Question commentaire, the Honourable Member for Hamilton Centre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the Honourable Member's preamble, they talk about, through the selection process, having a visual artist laureate selected from a list of 3 names reflective of Canada's diversity. Why, through you, Mr. Chair, to the Honourable Member, why is it important for her to ensure that Canada's diversity is reflected within her private member's bill?
The Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester.
I want to thank the Honourable Member for this question. I believe that the whole planet is made up of different stories, and people of different cultures view reality and view life from different perceptions. And it's only by hearing and seeing and telling the tales of all of them that we see a whole beautiful earth and life. And I think that's why it's so important to have diversity expressed much more than it already is here in Canada, so that more people can experience it and hopefully grow from that experience.
Question commentaire.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Beauport, Côte-de-Beaupré, Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank my colleague from Cumberland Colchester for the bill that we appreciate here in this House. I would like to ask our colleague a question. Wouldn't it not be more beneficial, lighter, for the exercise in and of itself, to have a committee, an artist committee within the Parliament that can reflect a wide range of diversity rather than one individual who is responsible for translating, interpreting? Without, and this is a strong word, without being biased by their personal perception, perhaps a committee would be something that more people could be unanimous about. The Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester.
Well, I want to thank the Honourable Member for that question. It's a very thoughtful question. And I understand where she's coming from. Here in Nova Scotia, we have an arts committee that the province has selected, who decide who gets which grants and things like that here in Nova Scotia. But to be honest, art by committee is a very difficult thing. I think each artist brings their own view and their own perspective to their work. You don't usually get 10 people, for instance, making a sculpture. You get one artist creating something themselves and then sharing that view with the world. and that's what this is focusing on, bringing a spotlight to individual artists, Canadian artists, and there would be a different artist chosen every 2 years who would have that spotlight and be able to share their works with Canada, with Canadians.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for London West.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I want to, or Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague from Cumberland Colchester for bringing this forward. As the mother of a visual artist who graduated from the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design, I am very proud and really happy that you've done this. Do you think Canadians really underestimate how the arts has impacted the people we are?
The honourable member for Cumberland Colchester.
I think, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for her question. I think that the population in general underestimates how much the arts influence their lives and how much they need the arts to connect. I mean, during the pandemic, what did people do? They watched television, they watched series, they read books. It was the arts that helped keep people together and kept them sane. Sadly, in my own writing, there was the loss of life of one young man, an 18-year-old who loved the theater, and he dropped out of school and he wasn't able to do what he loved to do. It was his happy place. And, this was taken away from him because of COVID-19. So I say more arts will help Canadians and help us stay strong and help us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.